Welcome to Golf Smarter Mulligans, your second chance to gain insight and advice from the best instructors featured on the Golf Smarter podcast. Great golf instruction never gets old. Our interview library features hundreds of hours of game improvement conversations like this that are no longer available in any podcast app.
People think too much. We all do it. We get lessons and we go out to the golf course and we still try to work those lessons through our round of golf, and that's the wrong time to do it. There's a practice tee and there's a golf tee, and once you get on the golf course, you let yourself go. Try to enjoy that 4 hours you spend walking the beautiful green grass, and leave your technical, mechanical side on the range. And when you finish playing, if you want to go back to the range and work on something, great. But we all do a terrible job of separating that. I'm guilty as anybody else. If you want to play your best golf, you got to become a Zen master out there. You've got to get past first grade in elementary school. You've got to get away from learning and all this education, and you've got to become your Zen master. You've got to become that guy who just lets it go and you enjoy it. You get everything out of it you can, then you leave the golf course, and then if you want to work on stuff, do it then, but don't work on the golf course.
With another interview from the archives of Golf Smarter, here's your host, Fred Green.
Many of you may be familiar with today's guest. Unfortunately, when I met him, I wasn't. That's how much I follow the tour, right? But I've told many golfers about his appearance on the Golf Smarter podcast, and the responses range from, yeah, he's on the Golf Channel, right? Or, sure, I've heard of him. He played on the tour. When I went down to Scottsdale last month to play with our Golf Smarter listener who won the trip to the Waste Management Phoenix Open, I was invited to play at the Scottsdale Celebrity Am, and Andrew was my partner. You can see Andrew. I do a short interview with him on our Golf Smarter TV channel on the homepage of golfsmarter.com, and it's also available at youtube.com/golfsmartertv. Welcome to the Golf Smarter podcast, Andrew.
Well, hello, Fred. Happy to be here.
Thank you very much. It was really fun playing golf with you down in Scottsdale.
It was?
Well, it was for me because, you know, I've been in these tournaments before, and I've actually never been in a celebrity am, and you were definitely a celebrity. And it was fun because your attitude towards the whole thing was so interesting to me.
Well, it's a bit of a pet peeve for me to see my fellow tour players and the way they act towards ProAms in general, and we can get into what I saw after our day on Wednesday at the golf tournament, how pathetic these guys act. But I've always believed, and knowing where the money comes from that helps support these purses on the PGA Tour, it comes from those amateurs you play with on those Wednesday and Monday ProAms. And I mean, you generally, all they ask is for you to be upbeat and, you know, be full of some little tidbits of information here and there. You don't have to go crazy. But you hear it time and time again, oh, I got a lousy draw. I got this guy, didn't say a word, you know, he only said, you heard the story, he only said on the 18th hole, if you make this putt, it's going to make me $1,000, which the guy usually knocks it off the green and says, screw you, pro. But I generally like the outings. It's always fun to meet new people. It's always interesting for me to see what people do for their livelihood, including you, Fred. Now we're doing a podcast for Golf Smarter, so it's interesting to learn these things in every business.
Well, thank you. On the video that we did together, you mentioned that this is part of the job of a PGA Tour player.
Oh, it certainly is, and I understand that, and I think unfortunately a lot of these younger guys on tour, they don't understand it because they don't need to understand it, they feel, because the purses are so great. They're making so much money, they're really losing touch of the big picture for a tour player. And, you know, back in the old day, 50s and 60s and 70s, let's say, before purses really started going, I mean, the guys hung out at the golf course all day long. They had dinner there. They had drinks at the country club or the golf club with whoever was left over in the bar. I mean, they usually would get a free meal, you know, for hanging out, but that was all part of it, and hanging out with the people and your amateurs that were maybe club members that played in the Pro-Am that Wednesday at those early tournaments. I mean, those are the guys that fed the purse, and guys appreciated that, and they knew that. And, of course, they weren't making millions of dollars, you know, on the course and off the course like they are now. They were making a nice living. They were enjoying themselves, but it was a hard life. You know, a lot of guys didn't fly in airplanes. They drove until you know, air travel became popular and affordable. You know, later on, maybe in the 60s. But I think these guys. I always tell people that I'm not really worried about my generation of guys. I mean, we have our pension plan with the tour. I mean, guys 20, 30 years ahead of me that played in the 60s and maybe late 50s, 60s, and early 70s. Really, they had to work really hard for everything they got. They don't have a pension plan like we have now, and they're really struggling.
It's interesting. You're not that old to be an old school kind of guy, but you're really an old...
I was born at the wrong time, Fred.
No, but you're an old school PGA Tour player, aren't you? You're a throwback.
Well, I'm not really a throwback. I just my friends are all older than me. I do like hanging out with the older guys and I listen to their stories because they have stories. These young guys don't have any stories. Mm-hmm. They're so self-absorbed with me, and how do I get my putting stroke better, and how me. It's just so much. They don't have any stories. They don't have any experiences that are fun and fun-loving to me. I like the characters that are self-deprecating and who have gotten a bit of trouble out there, which most guys do on the road, and they have interesting stories to talk about. I think these guys today, it's going to be breakfast at the club, 18 holes. I shot 70, blah blah blah. Had dinner with the wife, went home to the motel. And then over and over every day and every month, and that's all you get. So I do. I'm not sure if I'm an old soul, but I do. I like the older guys. I love the stories, and that's probably more important to me looking back than anything else in my career.
Well, the young guns today, they're in a very different microscope than you were in the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Absolutely.
Or I guess you started in the 80s, right, on the tour?
I started in 85 was my rookie year.
Yeah, okay. So let's talk, even the 80s and 90s. I mean, it's a completely different beast than it is now. And these guys are under a much different microscope.
Well, we can thank one guy for that, and he has kind of made golf cool, and made golf popular with the masses, with the underprivileged and whatnot. So yeah, we can thank Tiger for getting golf up to par with all these other sports monetarily, and we can thank him for the worldwide popularity and all the money in everybody's pockets since then. But that's exactly right. Guys are under the TMZ microscope now, and everybody knows it. And
what a shame.
Well, yeah, what a shame. Golf is it shouldn't be like one of those sports because the guys aren't that braggadocious type of guys that are looking for the limelight. Most tour players are really trying to shy away from the limelight. And a good example is my friend Craig Perks, who's a New Zealand gentleman who played at Oklahoma where I played. Came out and he chipped in a couple of times on 16 and 17 at the Players' Championship. And then the 18th hole, I think he chipped in again, maybe 3 in a row, to win the Players' Championship in Jacksonville. And before that, he'd really been just a mediocre player and hadn't had a ton of success. I can't recall if he'd won one other tournament or not, but he ended up winning like the 5th major we called the Players in Jacksonville. And the media storm that hit him completely caught him off guard. And it really kind of ruined him. I mean, the pressure, he didn't realize now he had to perform up to that and try to win majors and many tournaments, and he didn't like talking to the press, and he just completely went south and went the other way, and now he's off the tour and doesn't play that well. And so I think guys, I appreciate those guys that are reluctant to talk to the media. I don't think we owe the media that much, but then, of course, we're seeing now some young guys that love the attention, and who might not do that great a job with
it. No. And how has the relationship with the press changed from the mid-'80s to today? With golfers?
There's a lot more press.
Yeah.
I mean, every the media tents at every golf tournament, have hundreds of reporters there from every town and corner of the world to report not just big tournaments, but let's say the Honda Classic this week in Florida. I mean, that media in 1985 might have been, 20 guys. I bet you there's 150 there, 100 there right now, reporting on, the different person on tour, because it's such a melting pot on the PGA Tour. Now guys are from all over the world playing, and there's a representative from that media department in that Colombia and Spain and South Africa, all over the world, in Japan. They're all there, and with their compliments and their people that hang on to them, and so it really has changed in the scope and the size and
right. But what about the relationships? I mean, when you were starting out, were these 20 guys that were covering golf and reporting for everybody, were they friends with the golfers?
Yeah, they were definitely friends.
But they kept things close to their...
We would have drinks together. We'd have dinner together.
And you could trust these guys?
I think you're right. I think so. And if you told him not to write that, and he wouldn't write that. But I think nowadays, there's so much competition. They're writing everything. And but you're right. The relationship. Let's go way back. I mean, guys, Dan Jenkins hung out with Ben Hogan and got great tidbits from Ben Hogan over drinks and dinner during the middle of a tournament. I mean, nowadays a reporter could never probably go to dinner with a player, and just be friends, I think, and be off the record. Mm-hmm. I mean, not never, but it doesn't really happen like it used to happen.
No, but you got to have an NBC credential type of thing. You've got to be with one of the big boys to get any kind of access.
Well, you got to be with Golf World or Golf Digest, or you got to be one of the recognizable name guys that and as you're on tour for a long time, you get to know guys and you know what they're like and what they're writing about. But there's a whole lot more of them now, let me tell you that.
Poof. And back in the 80s when you were a rookie, what kind of attention on youth did they have versus today? It seems like because of Tiger, there's young players coming up, and there's a lot of them. Just this, at the Waste Management Phoenix Open.
Yeah. When I was a rookie in '85, Gene Sowers, a guy from South Carolina, and myself were the youngest two players on tour, about 22 years old, and no one paid attention to us. We weren't winning tournaments. We might have had a bit of a college background to say we might win the tournament someday, but there wasn't any attention. I mean, you had to prove yourself. You had to win a tournament. You had to contend for tournaments. You really had to be there quite often. Now I think there's so much a bigger media outlet that they need to fill content. So there's all kinds of stuff on PGAtour.com right now or Golf Channel. I mean, you can just go anywhere and find golf content like Golf Smarter right on this podcast we're doing. But it's a completely different world.
These young guns that are coming up seem to be able to hit the ball really far. I think that's what is so much attention is brought to them. But do they have the mental capacity to contend? And we're not talking about Tiger. We're talking about the rest of them now.
Oh, I think so. I mean, we're seeing we've got a great influx of young players. Anthony Kim and Rory McIlroy and Camilo Villegas, and I mean, there's quite a few on the list in front of me. There's a really good group of guys that. It's like any other sports, and the young guys are hitting the major leagues now, and they're ready to win. They've been trained better, training, and guys are much more disciplined. They've learned from all these extra coaches and ways to learn. When they get there, they're not afraid to win and try to win. And I think guys were in the past. Let me say my year in '85. I mean, I didn't feel like I was even close to winning a tournament when I came out on tour. I felt like I needed to go through the process. I wanted to keep my card. I wanted to finish in the top 10. I wanted to finish, top 5. I wanted to have a chance to win and maybe not win and be hungry to win and then win, and go through the whole process, the whole ladder of stepping up and deserving it from my peers. I mean, guys can come out right now, their first tournament as a professional, and win a tournament. I'm sure that's happened in the past. Jack Nicklaus might have done it, and Ben Crenshaw actually probably won his first tournament. I think he ever played as a pro in Texas. But there's such a deeper pool of guys right now. They're ready to win. They're mentally prepared to win. How they accept winning and the money and the media is a different story. Maybe not as gracious. Maybe not as gracious and as dignified as guys in the past who really had to earn it, who really thought about it. I mean, when you go out and win your first time, you really don't have time to think. You just kind of react and you go, and it's just $1 million in your pocket. And, I mean, how are you supposed to act? Crazy.
Well, yeah, when you're 22.
It's supposed to be fun. You're supposed to go to a strip club and get a new Mercedes. You're supposed to get in trouble, aren't you?
Well, at that age, yeah,
No.
you are supposed to do that. But when you're under a spotlight like that, it's difficult to do it. I mean, you have guys like back at the President's Cup when one player accused another of being out till 4:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
Which
was kind of goofy, wasn't it? Why did he accuse that guy? Because he'd already been beaten by him, right?
Right.
He'd already been beaten by him, and it makes him look even worse that he got beaten by a guy that was out till 4 in, drunk, and he comes out and waxes you. Shut up. That was really out of character for Robert Allenby. He's really a great guy and kind of quiet, and you don't really see his voice in the media that much. So that was kind of. He was very frustrated, obviously. I don't know, but I was like, wow, I thought didn't he just beat you? You should be like, pretending you don't know anything about anything.
Yeah, why would you think he would?
I don't know. Maybe I got the story wrong. I don't know.
I think we
like, wow.
Unless there's some basis of truth, but so what? He still beat you.
It doesn't matter. I mean, we're on the PGA Tour. Guys are free agents. We don't have a boss. Tim Fincham's not our boss. We can do what we want to do. There is no curfews. There's no rules. I mean, just you can't drink on the course. You can't do that. Maybe some guys have in the past. We really don't have a lot of rules. We police ourselves, and most of the time they do a pretty darn good job of it.
Yeah, but there are tremendous distractions that are presenting themselves at all times to these kids. Not any different than distractions. I mean, you and I have kids who are similar in age, and they're in their 20s, and they have distractions too, but they're not under a media spotlight.
Well, they don't have attractions and $1 million, $2 million, $3 million bucks in their pocket either.
Right, that's true.
That money thing. Coming to a kid who came from a middle class background, who all of a sudden he wins a tournament in his rookie year and he's got $1 million. That's a big deal. I mean, that's a lot of money. How do you handle that? I have no idea. That's just so difficult to not let it go to your head. Mm-hmm. So when I see guys carrying on and having a good time, I just go, bless your heart. You should have a great time. Don't spend it all, because someday you're probably going to regret it.
Yeah. Is that good for golf or bad for golf?
Well, it's I don't know if it's good or bad for golf. We're all human beings, and it's just human nature. I mean, you should, you really. What I see a lot from friends and amateurs I play with all the time, and then tour players is we don't show our joy enough. We don't show our happiness. All we show is our head down when we hit a bad shot. We don't give ourselves enough positive, happy reinforcement. We don't feel that. And I've learned this from Chuck Hogan, the great Chuck Hogan, was spending some time here in Phoenix years ago, and he's a golf instructor and a bit of a psychologist, and we had some, he'd teach some girls, and some Swedish girls on the range down here at the Raven South Mountain in Phoenix, and he was trying to get these girls, because Swedish girls just don't show any emotion at all, trying to get them to show, to say yippee skippy or jump up and down on the range when they hit a good shot, and they couldn't do it. He was like, feel the joy all the way down the end of your toes. Sit there and close your eyes and feel that. Well, they felt foolish. I mean, but I understand that. I think that's what a lot of our guys are lacking. And, and a lot of amateurs out there playing, everybody's so hard on themselves in this game that we don't feel the joy enough. We don't feel the good feelings from hitting a good shot. All we do is remember the 55 bad shots and go home with that bad feeling. And I think we really got to do a better job of being happy, happy with ourselves, that we did a pretty good job, and that's all you can get. That's all you get.
More yippee skippy.
More yippee skippy. Close your eyes, Fred. Try to feel the joy down into your toes. I can do it. I can feel that.
Well, it's interesting because during the round, you and I were talking throughout, and I was telling you about these swing changes that I'm going through, and working with a physical therapist, TPI instructor on fixing body and whatnot. And you said, and at one point you said, "Dude, you're thinking way too much."
Yeah, people think too much. We all do it. We get lessons, and we go out to the golf course, and we still try to work those lessons through our round of golf, and that's the wrong time to do it. There's a practice tee and there's a golf tee. And once you get on the golf course, you let yourself go. Try to enjoy that 4 hours you spend walking the beautiful green grass. and leave your technical, mechanical side on the range. And when you finish playing, if you want to go back to the range and work on something, great. But we all do a terrible job of separating that. I'm guilty as anybody else. You've got to if you want to play your best golf, I mean, it's like you got to become a Zen master out there. You got to get past first grade in elementary school. You've got to get away from learning and all this education, and you've got to become your Zen master. You've got to become that guy who just lets it go and you enjoy it. You get everything out of it you can, then you leave the golf course, and then if you want to work on stuff, do it then, but don't work on the golf course. That was good advice right there, Fred.
It's excellent advice, Andrew, but you're a golf professional, and,
we should all try to do it.
Yeah, but,
doesn't matter.
There's a lot
You've got a good swing. Your swing plane's fine.
Thank you.
You've got a good posture. Your grip's fine. Fundamental, you're very sound. I don't care if you're a 100 shooter or a 65 shooter. You've got to try to figure out how to approach your day and enjoy your day on the golf course and not be mechanically and technically involved with every little angle and dangle. If you do that, you got to understand that's going to take away from your score. I mean, it's simple as that.
It's a game.
It's a game. Treat it like a game.
And don't
treat it like you're trying to fix your car engine.
but it's also a passion. It's more than just a hobby. It's a passion. We want, we're competing against ourselves all the time, and we're beating ourselves up all the time, and we don't get the amount of time we'd like to practice. I mean, everyone always asks, "You play a lot of golf?" And the answer is always the same for every golfer, I think. Never enough.
Yeah.
We always want to play more, but life gets in the way.
Well, I mean, that's why people envy my life so much.
Exactly.
I play a lot of golf.
That's what I want to hear from you.
It's my job, and it's my passion. And I haven't been on tour for 3.5 years now, and people are like, what do you do? I said, well, I play golf. I kind of left the tour when I did, and it was like, I got to get a job. I want to, do something. I want to do something substantial in my life. I've just been a golf bum my whole life. I really haven't done anything. Here we go. And then as I thought about it more and more, I said, all I really know is golf. Mm-hmm. My passion is golf, and it's my life. And if I can find something to do with golf, like, say, Golf Channel, that's kind of involved in the same deal. I'm not going to go and jump and be a stockbroker. I don't know. I have a clue about that. I got to start from scratch, and I wouldn't be good at it. But I've got a good in golf, and I tell people that all the time. A lot of friends of mine come and ask me about their job, and they don't like what they're doing. I say, well, what are you good at? What's your passion? What do you really want to do? What do you really want to do? What do you do when you go home when you don't have anything else to do? What do you do? Do you paint? Do you go swimming? What do you do? I mean, use that passion for your next job. I mean, whatever you really, really want to do, that's what you should do. And because so much of us are stuck in a job we don't like. And I've been very fortunate that I found golf at age 11. We moved across the street from a golf course from London, England to Dallas, Texas. Luckily, right across the street from a golf course, and I became a golfer at that about a week after moving there. Or I'd be in jail now. So it was a very fortunate move for me. It's my life's work and my life's passion. Sometimes I may not look like it, but I'm always thinking. I'm getting putting lessons this morning. I've got Bay Hill coming up in Orlando. I like to perform well. I don't have high expectations, but I like to go and surprise people. And so be passionate. If you can do it, be passionate, but don't be mechanical. If I can throw that back in there again.
There you go. Got to get your digs in, don't you, buddy?
Yeah.
Well, listen, we are running out of time, but I know that you have so many more incredible stories to tell, and I would love to pick your brain about life on the tour and fans and what it was like leaving the tour. Could you come back and share some more stories with us next week on a members-only episode?
Absolutely, Fred. That sounds great. I had a lot of fun being with you, and hope to see you again soon.